Good morning, Maura. Today I've got some good news, some bad news, and some great news. Let's start with the bad news. I've done the math, and it turns out that in 2015, you earned less than $6,300 in income. Of course, the good news, as you know, is that this was your personal choice. You made so little not because you couldn't earn enough, but because you decided to spend the majority of the year volunteering at a wildlife refuge in Namibia. And the great news is that because you didn't make very much, you actually don't owe any income tax this year. However, and I realize this sounds crazy, you should still file taxes. Why? Because here's the thing, you may not owe any income tax, but you actually already paid income tax for 2015. Every paycheck you received for your work-study job with Jumpstart had a certain amount of money withheld by UChicago and sent off to the federal government. And if you file taxes for the 2015 tax year, you can actually get that money back as a refund, which is pretty fantastic. All the info you need is in your W-2 form, which UChicago should already have made available to you online. The W-2 is a form that employers generate to let you and the government know how much you got paid in the past year. Basically, they send one copy off to the IRS and give another one to you. The idea is simple. The IRS uses the tax forms your employer sends in to generate their own version of a tax return for you. Then, when you send in your version, they'll check that against what they generated, looking for mistakes, discrepancies, or, well, tax fraud. But this whole weird system leads to an obvious question. Why do we have to file our own tax returns at all? I mean, if the IRS already has all the same information that you have, why do you need to send them another copy? Like, talk about wasteful, inefficient government bureaucracy, am I right? Why are we paying IRS employees to collect and check all the info that you send in when they already have that exact same info from your employers? And more importantly, why did I have to spend the better part of a whole day filing my taxes this year when I could have spent that day volunteering or writing or making YouTube videos? I could have spent it shopping and contributing to the 80% of the American economy that's driven by consumer spending. I could even have spent it working, earning more income, and paying more taxes in the long run. But no, instead I had to spend all day going through forms and checking and double-checking numbers and making sure that everything on my return was going to line up with the return the IRS already generated for me. And here's the thing, it's not just me. Every year, the American people spend 6.1 billion hours filing our taxes. Like, of all the things we could spend 6.1 billion hours per year doing, you don't think we could come up with something better than filling out a form the IRS has already filled out for us? 6.1 billion hours is over 60 times what it took to create Wikipedia, one of the greatest achievements in the history of human knowledge. And I know what you're thinking. Maybe you or I or the average American, maybe we're just not expert enough to create the next Wikipedia in our spare time. But the least we could do is spend those extra hours volunteering at a city park cleanup or a soup kitchen or a wildlife refuge. And in fact, if Americans spent the hours we currently spend filing taxes on volunteering instead, it would nearly double the number of hours we volunteer every year in this country. Just imagine the difference that would make to the welfare and well-being of our society. So, why don't we just stop wasting 6.1 billion hours per year and start letting the IRS file our taxes for us? Well, as it turns out, our home state of California actually experimented with the exact kind of system I'm describing, a pilot program called Readyreturn. They would autocomplete tax returns based on the info provided by employers, then send out tax invoices with completed returns attached to citizens like you and me. And all citizens had to do was either approve it or submit corrections. Over 90% of the people who participated in the Readyreturn pilot program said it saved them time. More than 97% preferred it to the existing system. And best of all, the state of California found that taxes filed through Readyreturn were significantly cheaper to process than those filed the normal way. And oh right, one more thing. Only 0.3% of Readyreturn taxes had any errors in them at all. That's less than 1/10 the error occurrence rate of normal tax returns. In short, the Readyreturn pilot program was a resounding success. And that was back in 2005. It's been more than 10 years. Why don't we have this system everywhere? If you guessed big corporate money corrupting American politics, you are, as always, correct. Between 2001 and 2010, Intuit, which runs the tax preparation software company TurboTax, spent more than $1.7 million lobbying against the Readyreturn program and successfully got it discontinued in 2007. To be fair, it wasn't a complete victory for crony capitalism. Today, Readyreturn is back and bigger than ever under a different name as part of California's CAL file system. It serves more than 80,000 California taxpayers today. But if you're wondering why the idea hasn't caught traction nationwide, you have your answer. The upshot is, if you hate filing taxes, don't thank big government. Thank big business. They say the only certain things in life are death and taxes. That may be true, but just as the inevitability of death doesn't keep us from trying to cure malaria and cancer, the inevitability of paying taxes shouldn't keep us from trying to avoid the annoying, frustrating, wasteful, and inefficient process of filing them. That said, Maura, you should still take the time to file yours because you can claim a refund at the end of it. I hope your midterms are going well. I can't wait to hear all about them, and I'll see you soon.